G'day, it's Dan here. Welcome back to part 3 of this new introduction to the Ruleset wizard. In this one, we've added a link into our skills that we did in the last session, and this link is going to open up to a new data window that contains the information for that skill. We're also going to add the skill button over here on the right, and the same data will open up here. So we have medicine, and you can also see that this button can be activated in the library and over here, so skills. By default it wouldn't be loaded because we haven't set that just yet. And let's go and have a look at how this is all done. So we've created a new file here called skill, and we can see here that we've got a frame. Now this frame doesn't show, it's not visible in here at the moment because I'm just using a core RPG frame, which doesn't exist here in this current one. So we can see frame reference page, but we can see the size here. Now, core RPG, all the official rule sets, these data windows are actually comprised of 3 window classes. They have the parent window class, they have a header window class, and a content window class. And there are good advantages to this. There are nice reasons to it. I find it a pain in the butt to do in the Ruleset wizard, so I do it a little bit differently. I create everything in a single window. The big disadvantage with this is when it comes to resizing windows or the data fields here and resizing them for expanding content. So to do that, you often end up creating sub-windows, and the sub-windows end up having new window classes in them, so basically exactly the same thing. So at some points we'll find that we don't end up saving any time at all using this method, but for the most part with simple ones like this it is cleaner and simpler. So anyway, let's dig down into what we've got here. So we've got a window class, and my window class is called skill. It's got a frame, it's got a size, and because of these ones that I've mentioned here about the resizing issues, we'll find that we actually have removed we haven't put in a resize frame here, and we could also put in here the size. There's also an option here to do a maximum size and a maximum width. So our current default size is 355. We could set them also to the max values here: maximum height, maximum width, minimum height, minimum width, and then it will always be the same size no matter what. Okay, so digging in, we've now got a description field, and this is just we've given it a name, and it's a formatted text field, and I played around with it a little bit as I did it. What you might see, these are just little quirks. What you might see is that this particular frame, you can see that the body here doesn't start right at the edge of the frame because we've got this scroll center at the top here, which is wider, and there's also a little bit of shadow on the end. So when I'm placing this frame, the formatted text, I want it to sit neatly inside that. So it's not going to sit way over here on the edge, and we can see that it's actually starting 15 pixels in from the left, and based on its size it's actually ending 15 pixels in from the right hand edge as well. Got some space here at the bottom as well. We can see here when we view the frame, you can see there's a good amount of space left and right and bottom. Same at the top, because you know we've got that scroll icon here. Of course, if you're making your own frames, these things don't apply. Generally, when I make frames, I try not to put all that transparent stuff in there because it just complicates the spacing, and it wastes space, in my opinion. Space is often at a premium on your table. So anyway, that's our formatted text field. Very simple, nothing too complex here. You might, for some situations, you might want to put a scroll bar in it. And the scroll bar will allow this field here to scroll as it gets longer. It will still scroll, but there's no visual representation that the field needs to scroll or that you can scroll. So if you put a scroll bar in here, you get those representations. The next thing we've got is the name. Nice, simple string field, and this one we just call it name. Keep it name because there are some scripts at various times. There are lots of things that just reference name. And all the examples that you'll see in all the other rule sets just use name, so stick to just using name. When I first started doing this, I would have called this skill underscore name. But there are benefits to just leaving it as name. It starts just to the right of our link, and it finishes with enough room to leave our lock button and our close button. So we'll look at those next. This is the close button. All we do here is create a button. So we use button the button toolbox item here, and we set it to 20 pixels high, 20 pixels wide. Now we can actually get rid of the font, and we can get rid of the button up. They will disappear in here, which does make it a little bit harder to see what's going on here. But what's actually going to decide what displays here is this template. So we're going to use the closed record sheet template. How do you know to use this? Fortunately, it's just one of those things you're going to have to learn. So if you use the closed record sheet advanced template in this field, and you give it the name closed record sheet, it will create a button that will do all the closing for you. It'll put all the right icons in there for you. So it's nice and easy. Learn that one. And the very same thing goes for this next one. We've got another button. Button record locked is the advanced template. I just give it the same name. Okay, it's again 20 pixels wide, 20 pixels high. Now this one, it really matters if you leave the frame in, because the close button, the actual button icon that the template supplies, is the same size as the box. So this frame that is in here by default, the button up, isn't visible, but the lock has got a lot of transparency in that 20 pixels by 20 pixels. So you actually see the button up frame underneath, and then the lock on top, and it's quite disconcerting. It doesn't look nearly as sharp or as clean. So remove frame and remove font from these specialized buttons that use advanced templates. There's no code or anything on there. And then we've got our link object. Now the link is a special toolbox item over here. These ones you've got to get right. And I sometimes make a mistake on these, and I'm tweaking and looking, and I've put in a bunch of data and I can't work out, troubleshoot where it's going. Get these ones right. So allow drop is where you can drag via the link into chat or onto a character sheet, etc. So this we want to allow these ones to drop. The description field name is basically going to give this object the name that's in here. Self on empty, true, and that means that if there's an empty item and you click a skill link with this properties, it will open itself up, basically, or it's just referencing itself. If the link references another object, then it'll open that object up. And window class name is itself. So skill, it's going to open this window. So when you use this link, it's a link to the details page of this particular data type. And this doesn't matter on this page, but when we drag these into the character sheet, when somebody clicks on that, we want it to open this view. And that's what will get captured by this. So we give it a name, and that's it. But there is one more part to this, and that is the code for locking this data. Nice and simple for this one, this record. So what we do is we've got a onLock changed. This is our lock. This is a core RPG sort of function. It's built into the engine. It knows when this changes that certain things happen, and it sets a field called be read only. All right, and it's set to either true or false. So there's only two fields on this particular data type that are editable, and they're the name and the description fields. So we've got name.setReadOnly, and setReadOnly is a flag. It's another function in the system. So when this is true, then you can't edit that field. When it's false, you can edit it. So we've got name, which is up here, and we've got skill description here, and we've set both of these just to inherit the values that the lock. So when the lock changes to locked, it's true. And so named set read only true, skill description set read only true. When we unlock it, the reverse happens. These become false, they become editable. And what we want to do, just to make sure that this is also correct when you load it up for the very first time. On init means the first time the screen is drawn. Let's run the script as well, and it'll check the current state of the lock and set those values correctly. Okay, so that's the skill field. Now, what we want to do is go back into our skill detail, and we need to make a couple of small changes here. So firstly, I had added in a skill link icon onto this character sheet. So of course I had to make name a bit smaller. I could have made the whole field wider, but then I wouldn't be able to fit two side by side of my character sheet. So you're always going through and tweaking and adjusting things that you've done previously as your rule set, as your system evolves. Later on I might find I need to add more data in here, and I can no longer justify putting them side by side. Everything's too small, and my list will become a single column list. These things change as you go. But for the moment, I've got a skill link in here. And again, get this one right. This is an easy one to mess up. If you get it wrong, then it doesn't open the right record and you're scratching your head for a long time. So description field name, self on empty true, window class name, skill. Window class name means when you click on this icon, it's going to open this window class with the correct record value. And that's it. It's nice and simple. Give it a name, skill underscore link. What you will see is that I've also got an iDelete button. See, when I select iDelete, it's still highlighted. So I moved the iDelete button from over here, and I've put it on top of this icon. And that means that the iDelete button is only visible when you select the iEdit action. And we don't need the icon in that view, so it will just cover over this. Core RPG uses some relative anchoring, and it shuffles everything across and does this. It's a little bit more complicated. It's not wrong or right. This is just easier for me to do. So this is the way I do it. So we've added that in. That's really it for those. Now all we have to do is set the toolbar icon on the side in the campaign tools. So what we do, this is really simple. So you're going to copy this script here. And really, don't worry about this top stuff here for the moment. So it's just this record here. And if you've got more items, so say we've got later on, we've got library data, A records, spell. You'll basically duplicate this. So you copy this record here, and you would copy that. You'd paste it down here, and your new one would be called spell. And you just replace all the skill references with spell. And this will create a button on the side menu, and it knows to display the right spells. It knows how to handle this as in the reference manuals and things like that. The icons, all of this stuff is set. But what we do also have to do is we need to display the word skill or spell on the button and the campaign tools. So for that we need a string. And this is a bit of an unusual one. It's, again, something you just have to learn. So what we've got is we've got library underscore record type underscore label underscore. That stuff remains the same, all of them. And then skill is the name of the window class. This being the window class, so skill. Now it has to be skill exactly as written here. You can't just write skills in here, because it programmatically references this. So, but the text can say anything. And this is, say you're running your game in German, you would put the German pronunciation or spelling for skills in here rather than the English. But this stuff here would stay referencing as skill, exactly as this, because this part has to match the window class. So over here, we would make this spells, and this would be spell. And that's how you would add your second button for spell once you had created the spell window class. Alright, that's it. So those are the parts that go to adding in and creating this button here on the right, the campaign tool button called skills, which opens up a list. So we've got we've got medicine tracking, we've got persuasion. So we've got persuasion here with some text in here. We can drag this in, and persuasion appears on the character sheet. And we click on this, and it opens up the right record. Now, the character can also make their own ones in here. They just won't be reflected in skills. So if the character makes a skill in here called sailing, and they can click on it, this data here will be out of whatever, something like that. This record here only exists within this character sheet. The GM, however, could probably do this, and we can. This will now become a record that is available or shareable to everybody or exportable. But the original record only existed within this character sheet, because players cannot create records outside of their own character sheets. They can only create character sheets and notes. Everything else requires a GM to do it, or some special coding. So that's it. I hope that was useful. It's not hard, but you just have to make sure you get all the little details correct. As long as the details are correct, everything will work quite nicely. Thanks very much. Keep on creating.